Good afternoon, residents of Pittsburgh. This is Wolfgang Krosky, CEO of the Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce, and this is a continuation of our series where we are doing one-on-one interviews with all of the candidates for the Pittsburgh City Council race, the Pittsburgh School Board race, and the District 5 County Supervisor race. You can go to www.pittsburgh.vote to view all of the interviews, to be able to read about each of the candidates via their bio. There's links to their Facebook pages, their websites. We then have the ability, we're gonna have 3 different forums, one for City Council race, School Board, and District 5 County Supervisor. You can go ahead and submit your questions, and we ask that you do submit those questions so that we can ask them of the candidates at the forum. And to provide that extra layer of transparency, our Google Sheet is provided. So as soon as you submit a question, you will see it show up on that Google Doc, and candidates can view all the questions. You can view all the questions. So please go to www.pittsburgh.vote to view all this information. With us today, we have Frank Aiello, who is running for Pittsburgh City Council. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the time over to Frank to go ahead and introduce himself.
Good afternoon, Pittsburgh, and thank you for putting this on, Wolf. Longtime Pittsburgh resident. I've been in Pittsburgh basically all my life. But in 1997, I was elected to the Pittsburgh City Council. Prior to that, my career started in 1989 in fighting Keller Canyon landfill. My family sued them. We lost. There was still a payout for residents in that community. We refused the money because we wanted environmental protection. That's where my career started. From there, I sat on the Keller Canyon Local Advisory Panel, the Dow Chemical Community Advisory Panel, had an unsuccessful try for the council, was elected in 1997. I served 5 years, one of them as the mayor, and in 2002, I left the council. However, during those years, we were very productive. We had a thriving economy. We were stepping up in the world. Our crime rate was actually lower than Walnut Creek's at that time. So we were headed in the right direction in many areas. In those 18 years, something's happened. It looks like we've stalled. And so the reason I'm running again is to jumpstart Pittsburgh with a vision for the future. We can't keep looking to the past and trying to put out fires, because as long as you keep putting out fires, that means you're just putting Band-Aids on and you're not providing a future for the next generation. My goal in the next 4 years, if elected, is to provide a future not only for the next generation, but the generation after that, with a sustainable Pittsburgh and not one reliant on housing.
So with that, you mentioned this kind of starting with Keller Canyon and your involvement, being on the city council, doing all these things, and that getting away from what you're calling putting Band-Aids on situations. So how do you feel, if that's your why, how do you feel you'll be successful when obviously there's been a lot of councils in the last 18 years and you were not reaching the results that you feel that Pittsburgh should? So why do you feel that you'll be able to be successful in that?
Good question, Wolf. One of the things I learned a long time ago when I first started fighting Keller Canyon is I used to go to the supervisors meetings and just spout, but I wasn't saying anything. In this case, what I learned is that facts are important. And if we look at the facts of the city, the facts say we're not doing it right. And I'll give you some examples. Back in 2002, we partnered with the World Trade Organization to have businesses go global, local businesses. And they came to Pittsburgh, and we were giving free seminars to local businesses to go global. We also signed economic development agreements with all sister cities to create trade throughout 3 different countries. All of this was done in 2002. We were getting set for Pittsburgh to go global. For our businesses in the downtown, that would have been tremendous. More jobs, more businesses downtown, because the downtown would have been able to thrive with the flourishment of the downtown with a global economy. I don't know what happened between 2002 and now, but that's gone. And we need to bring that back. We need to partner and get our businesses on the map, not only in locally, but globally again. That's just one area. But if you look at the overall product, we're not a destination point. Ask anybody outside of Pittsburgh, let's go to Pittsburgh for the weekend, and what are they going to tell you? Why? And so we need to fix that. I have put out a vision plan on my website that addresses every component of why a council member should run, including that component. There are two components. One of them, the bigger ones I look at, is we need an adult entertainment venue over in the Century Plaza area that would bring concerts to our community. It would not cost the city anything because it would be privately funded. That, the revenue generated from that could kickstart so many other projects in the city, and we would not be looking for loans to get things done.
Just for clarification, when you say adult entertainment, because that term can mean a lot of things, what do you mean by adult
Concerts
entertainment?
like, say, Toby Keith, if you like country, or any type of concerts, sort of like a Thunder Valley facility. I haven't decided. My position right now is a Thunder Valley-like facility, minus the casino aspect of it right now, because the casino aspect, voters have overwhelmingly spoken. They've spoken in the past that they did not want that. However, I still believe that type of a resort could flourish in Pittsburgh because it would also, again, revitalize the Century Plaza area, increase that whole area. And again, those are added sales dollars coming into the city of Pittsburgh that allow our residents now to have a better quality of life.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of your why and what you feel that why you can be successful, where others potentially have not been successful. And as you know, the Chamber of Commerce is a business organization. Our primary focus is helping businesses to thrive, to be successful, and to advocate and protect them. What would be those specific plans that you would lay out in the city council that you would lay out in regards to the business community here in Pittsburgh to help accomplish these goals?
Well, the first thing that I would need to do, because I've been out of the business community for 18 years, so I'm not going to profess to be an expert.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing I believe we need to do is actually sit down with the businesses and ask them individually, what are you lacking that you need specifically that we can help you with? One of them, I believe, is partnering again with the World Trade Organization to bring help to get their products that can go globally. But what can we do to these specific businesses? One of the ideas I have specifically for the downtown is a parking structure, because if we were to fill up the downtown with businesses tomorrow, there's not enough parking downtown for customers. So you would not have enough foot traffic in the downtown to sustain those businesses. That's one of the bigger problems. We need a parking structure in the downtown that would allow those businesses to sustain, where employees could park and free up all of our downtown parking for customers. And the other thing we need is a destination point closer to the downtown, so that when people come to Pittsburgh, we have a destination point that's close to the downtown that they can just basically go over the bridge right there and they're in the downtown. So I do have a plan for that as well. It's in the parks part of the plan. But specifically, two things. We need to talk to the businesses individually, but then we need to invest wisely. The city, as you know, and you may not, has invested over $225 million throughout the course of history in the downtown, and nothing's worked. So somebody's got to be missing the boat somewhere. So we need to really sit down, talk businesses and city, and say, okay, let's come up with an actionable plan that is feasible and workable for all of us.
So, and what about other parts of the business community? So, I know obviously, in full disclosure, our family's business and the chamber's office is located in Old Town, but there's a lot of other business areas. You talked a little bit about Century Boulevard. Are there ideas or plans for the business communities in other parts, whether it be like Garcia Corridor or even on the west side of town, San Marco, Bailey Road, and that area?
So the San Marco area, I know that there's potential out there for another grocery store, on a high-end grocery store. I know that we're looking at those businesses. One of the areas that's really hurting for business right now is right here on Buchanan. That shopping center that vacated, and all of those businesses are hurting. The DMV is they basically sustaining that entire parking shopping center. But I know those businesses are hurting, and the community here needs a shopping center there. I have actually talked with the owner. I know what the cost per square foot is, and I have 40 years in retail. So I don't think, based off of knowing the cost, I can use my experience and my connections in retail to go out into that community to bring a store into the city of Pittsburgh for that area that would pump up that specific area, that shopping center. The second phase of that, when we look to Oak Hills, that shopping center is always busy, but it can be better. We need help on the Bailey Road corridor. Again, the Keller Canyon traffic, when all those trucks, I think one of the plans is to go to the county and ask them to maximize the mitigation fund for Bailey Road to get that road nice and surfaced so that that parking lot is clean. And also, we need to push for development on the other side that cleans that area up. Mm-hmm. We need to find that, because that cleans that area up, and again, it improves business. The San Marco area, again, I think there's enough room and there's enough housing out there to warrant another grocery store. But again, that takes somebody who knows the business. In my 40 years, say I know the business. And I can go out and get those stores, because one of the advantages I have is I'm retired now. So I can go out, and part of the job as a leader is not to rely on staff to do everything for you. Part of your job is to help that staff and go out and sell. If you've got an idea, don't rely on staff to do it. You might never see your idea again. You have to go out and ask those tough questions and be with staff. And part of your job as a salesman for the city. Staff's job is to bring it to you. Your job, in my opinion, is to go out and sell the company, to say, hey, come to Pittsburgh. We're right for you, and this is why. That's what I want to do. I want to get out there and bring those businesses here, be that salesman that can say, hey, come to Pittsburgh. We did it before, and we've seen businesses go way east. They flocked all east when we started giving money into that bypass project. So all we did was push our own businesses to the east. And all we saw was a tremendous loss in sales tax dollars with nothing replacing it. We've got to be able to say, stay here. And the third component to that is we need to have an area where we have high-end housing. Because if we don't have high-end housing right now, we're saying to our citizens, congratulations on being super successful with your life, but we don't have a house here that you want. So you're going to have to move to Concord or Brentwood or someplace else. We don't have that third level of tiered housing that allows our citizens to stay here because this is their home. So that's the third component, because businesses also look at spendable income, disposable income. And if we have that high tiered housing, that's disposable income that all businesses say, hey, we need to go there because they've got disposable income right now that nobody's taking advantage of.
So, okay. So those three steps sound, reasonable. The key, though, is that economic development part. So you mentioned the 40 years of experience in retail, and that having connections and the time to go out and pull in basically retailers to come in. Is there any other type of economic development plans that you may have, or ideas that you would bring as a successful candidate to the city council?
Well, you need to bring the retail. My position right now is we need to fill up what we have before we can build new. For us to continue to build a ton of new retail, I don't think is a prudent decision when we have so much space available. So for my plan, it's to kind of let's infill what we already have. And in some cases, we might be overdeveloped in retail in certain areas. One of those areas we might want to look at as saying we're overdeveloped is in the Atlantic Plaza area, where we have basically 3 different shopping centers right there. That might be an area that we say we're overdeveloped here, and what's happening is that's pulling away from the ability to spread your retail out to other areas of the city, because one of the things people want is to be able to go to the store a few minutes away. They don't want to drive 10, 15 minutes. We don't have that ability right now because the market analysis doesn't allow it, because our retail in some areas is just too packed. So that's another study that would need to be done, but I just think we're too packed. We need to spread it. As far as other types of businesses, I still think that a technology center can come here. I don't think it might be appropriate in the golf course area, simply because I would want to see it more towards Delta Diablo Sanitation to take advantage of their recycled water facility. And instead of using clean water for the tech center, we could use recycled water, thus conserving the water for residents. So that's my position on moving that. And really the area of the golf course, I would like to see us build a regional park. I would really like to see a regional park there that would incorporate water slides, maybe a skate park, a rock climbing wall, something that Pittsburgh could really be proud of, barbecue pits, ball fields. I think we could have a gem of a regional park right there if we just say, this is where we're going to put it and do it first class. Pittsburgh could have had the Concord water slides years ago. They said no. Okay, I thought it was a mistake. I think we can do something. We don't need to that effect, but just a smaller component of it so that, again, residents can come to their own city and be proud of the regional park that we have.
So, okay, that's 175 acres with all that. Where, funding wise, to make that happen?
There's a couple ways to go. Again, one of the ways that we can do that is, again, it's step by step. So to me, the first step is actually in the development of Century 21 because that provides revenue. Okay, we have to look at what those return on investments are, and that provides us those next steps. But the second step to that is actually we do have a profitable venture in the Pittsburgh Power Company. We also have to look at two other projects that I have. One is called Big League Dreams. That would take over City Park, and we would not have City Park expenditure anymore. And that's your destination point for the downtown. But the return on investment 20 years ago was $1.1 million a year. So at $1.1 million a year, we're able to now say, okay, let's start getting into these other projects. Because
when you say Big League Dreams, just for those that aren't familiar, what is that?
I have it on my website for people to look at again, but it's a baseball field replica complexes, sports complex, but it also has an indoor outdoor facility for soccer, basketball, catering events, and they basically build a restaurant right in the middle, and there's sports facilities all around it. It's fenced in, and they have playgrounds, everything. I've posted a number of pictures for people to take a look at on my website. First class, they bring in tournaments from all over the United States to play at these types of facilities. If anybody has traveling teams, kids that are playing in traveling leagues, they only play at these types of facilities. Manteca has one. The reason Manteca has one is, again, Pittsburgh 20 years ago could have had this, and they turned it down. I had Big League Dreams here, ready to go, ready to build. So I still think it's the right project because, again, it provides a return on investment that allows us to be a better quality, give a better quality of life for residents, and also to diversify because we have a whole western side of Pittsburgh that really kind of needs a park. But we need to make it first rate. We need to make it so that everybody wants to go there and not just Pittsburgh residents. You know, we want residents from over the hill to come to Pittsburgh just to visit our park. Mm-hmm. And I believe if we put something out that's first rate, they will. And all of a sudden, what I've mapped out for you are basically 3 destination points for people to come to Pittsburgh. Currently, we have 0.
So a lot of ideas there. And, you know, the question people may have that are viewing this is, okay, so Frank, I've heard your ideas and they sound really good, but there's 5 people on the council. How do you rally support around these ideas? How would you work with the existing council? How would you make this happen? And kind of referencing this, you know, giving an opportunity to talk about either leadership or communication abilities, but just how would you make this successful? Because having the idea is one thing, but getting the council and everything around it and supporting it and doing it is another thing. So how would you address that?
Excellent question. I think that, and again, it goes back to what I've stated before. I think we have to provide the facts and say, this is why we want to do it, and here are the facts supporting it. And my question would be very simple for the rest of the council members. what's the alternative? If we don't do something in Pittsburgh that provides destination points, in 10 years on the current budget, the city will have no budget. The city will be broke. You will be owned by the county because we don't have sustainable income that would allow the city to work and provide the type of quality of life that our residents deserve. So we need to provide destination points that bring people in to spend their money in Pittsburgh, and also allow Pittsburgh residents to stay in Pittsburgh and spend their money here instead of going out of town to spend it. We don't have that currently. We're, in some cases, we're our own worst enemy because we haven't provided that. And, you know, I was on the council for 5 years. Shame on us. We didn't provide it either. Okay, but I tried. We tried with 2 different projects. Both projects at that time, again, the council said they didn't want. So now here we are again, but now we're looking at a whole different world. We're looking at an economy that's different. We're looking at everything different. And if we don't provide destination points, the city is not going to have an economy in 10 years. We can't rely on housing to sustain a community because the cost of the community is greater than what the housing is going to return. So we have to have alternatives. Not only that, it provides jobs in our community. It allows our community, our families to have family time instead of having our families watch mom and dad commute 2 hours or 4 hours and they're never home except to say goodnight and good morning. I know firsthand. When I bought my house on Mount Whitney in 1986, I walked in one day in 1989, handed the keys to my boss. I was in banking at the time. I was a branch manager. Said, I can't do this anymore. I'm not seeing my kids grow up. I handed the keys, came home, and actually took a time as a part-time clerk at Safeway, which was right down the street when Bailey Road opened.
Right.
And to me, the family time was much more valuable than wasting all that time on the freeway. That's where our residents are at today. We need to provide an alternative that allows them the ability, or at least the opportunity, to choose, hey, I can work in Pittsburgh. I might make a little bit less, but I'm making up for it in all this time with my family. I mean, we don't have those alternatives right now.
So do you feel that having served on the council for a period of time, then having a time, 18 years or so, that you were on the council to do other things and now coming back, do you feel that that is a strength for you, that you kind of, you know, have this additional insight, or, you know, I've been there, spent some time doing some other stuff, and now I'm back and bringing that to the table? Or do you feel that it really wouldn't be the different as just serving another term consecutively, I should say?
I think it's a, you know, it's a two-way street, but I've looked at what's out there. One of the incumbents is saying they're driving for results, and I would challenge everybody to say, where are the results in the last 4 years? Another incumbent says that hashtag for the future, together. Okay, but what's the future? So I'm basically saying right now is I have laid out a plan that addresses diversity. We had problems a few years ago with diversity. I mean, just a few months ago. I suggested immediately that we get a diversity panel put together consisting of the CAC, at-large members of the community, and also some members from the Pittsburgh Youth Action Committee, and that we get a panel together, including police officers, mental health and social health, and put an actionable plan together to eliminate systemic racism within our community, okay? None of the council members, none of our leaders have even come up with a plan yet. I'm a candidate and I've come up with a plan. That's just an example. The police department, we're all looking at saying, how can we make it better? You know, some people have said, well, let's divert funds to social services. Let's divert funds to mental health. We don't have to do that. If anybody looked at the budget for the last 10 years, the police department's budget has been slashed by $8 million over the last 10 years. So our leaders should have told you that, but they haven't been paying attention. They slashed it $4 million this year, but between the last 9 years, $4 million has been cut off of that budget. But I still have an idea. The idea to help this along is to actually hire social services and mental health experts into the police department with their own cars that can answer calls and then help officers determine which way they need to go with certain cases. That's an idea that I could float to the council. It's a first step in trying to get us in the right direction. Nobody else has put an idea on the table. I can go down the list: jobs, parks, economic development, but I have put a list out. It's on the website under vision, and it addresses all the components that you need. Environment, I want air monitors at Keller Canyon landfill. One of the things I would call for is an audit of the $843,000 that we get every year. Where's that money going to? That's Keller Canyon mitigation funds that we get. Where's it going to? Why aren't we protecting our residents, and why haven't we squawked about it? I don't know. I don't have that answer. Air credits, another issue. I want to eliminate air credits for sale in the city of Pittsburgh. We don't need more smokestacks coming into Pittsburgh and just polluting the air, but we need to clean it. We can clean it by just eliminating air credits.
So can you go ahead and explain to those, what an air credit is for those that aren't familiar with that term?
Air credits are when companies have air credits for pollution, so to speak, to break it down. And when a new company is coming in and an old company might be leaving, they might have air credits available. And what they do is they sell them to the new company, and those credits are sold for millions of dollars. They're not cheap. They're sold for literally millions of dollars. But what it basically says is this company can come in, but your air is not going to get any cleaner. So just eliminating those sales within the city of Pittsburgh over a period of time, your air gets cleaner simply because you're not allowing that type of behavior within the city. I proposed that again 20 years ago and never happened.
So basically what you're describing is that a company can, rather than reducing emissions, they basically pay to emit in the simplest of forms, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure people may not be familiar with that. That also gets into like cap and trade and some of those other things where it's, credit.
And for those who don't know, I did serve on Governor Gray Davis's environmental justice panel in 2002. I was a keynote speaker at USC on that panel and also spoke in San Francisco on environmental justice. So it's been a passion. It's never gone away. And it's a passion that I believe we need to firmly grasp for the future generations.
Okay. So you touched a little bit on a diversity panel and the diversity of Pittsburgh. And that's kind of one of our questions is, how do you see the diversity in Pittsburgh as a strength? And right now there's throughout the nation a lot of division. Some people will say it's not as big as it is, and some will say that's bigger than it is, but definitely there's some division. How do you see yourself as a potential council member unifying Pittsburgh?
Again, it goes back to, I think we need to first of all have those difficult conversations. And that includes why I would like to set up this diversity panel, because difficult conversations need to be had, and people in some cases need to be uncomfortable about what is said, because there are a lot of truths out there. And you can't turn a blind eye. Yes, we're a very diverse culture here in Pittsburgh. I'm really proud of that. And I know a lot of other Pittsburgh people are proud of it too. But it doesn't mean that racism does not exist. It does. In its subliminal ways and in sometimes major ways, it's there. So we need to tackle it. And the only way we can tackle it is to sit down at a table as a community and say, what can we do as a community with an actionable plan, and then carry out the plan. There's two different types of plans. One that people talk about and then never exercise. One that people talk about and then execute. I'm not a person that likes to talk about a lot of things without executing them. My record will show that when I talk about something, we usually execute it. So in this particular case, the panel that I would talk about would involve, again, the Community Advisory Commission. It should have 2 council members on it. It should have police department representation, social services representation, mental health. I know that the current supervisor of District 5, Federal Glover, I did talk to him about this. He said if I was elected and that panel was set up, he has already accepted an invitation to also sit in on that panel. So we're going to get a diverse group of people together and have those conversations and come up with an actionable plan that is a community plan. That's not a council plan. It's not a supervisor plan. It's not a police plan. It is a community plan that works. And here's the kicker. If we've got mental health and social services working in the police department, they can give us vital feedback on what they're seeing to help us fine tune that plan and make it even better.
Okay. Okay, so basically bringing together a diverse group to talk about this and create the action plan for the unification of Pittsburgh. And do you think that that's something, how long, would that take in your opinion?
It takes as long as I believe that the community wants it to. I don't think you can come up with a plan in one day. I think if you come
Right.
up with a plan in one day, that's not a plan. That's just another small Band-Aid. We don't need any more Band-Aids. We need actionable solutions. So I think that we have to have 2 or 3 meetings, maybe even 4 or 5, so that you're going to have a lot of people at the table. Everybody needs to have a chance to talk. We need to put ideas on the pros and the cons up. People need to look at this. They need to absorb it. And then we want people to come in with their actionable plan so that we can put it together. It's not going to be an overnight process for anybody to think it is. I'm not going to lie. It just won't work if you think it can happen in a day. It can't. But I think that we can come up with a plan in anywhere from 3 to 6 months. We can come up with even 2 actionable items to step us in the right direction is a step in the right direction. But that committee still meets and it continues to move forward. I believe that committee needs to be in existence for at a minimum of 2 years, if not the entire 4 years I would be there if elected, because you don't eliminate something that's been there for a lifetime that we've been here. You don't eliminate it in 4 meetings or in 2 years. It just doesn't happen that way. And for anybody to think it does is fooling themselves. So slow but steady progress and actionable plans, and celebrate the achievements, celebrate the successes. I think that's also important. We come up with a plan. Item 1, we achieve it, celebrate it, but make it a community celebration, not just the committee. The community needs to celebrate so that they are aware that steps are being made in the right direction.
What do you, I think you already have talked about this, but maybe it might be different. What do you see the biggest challenges for the city of Pittsburgh in the next 5 years? What are those large challenges that you see?
Your general fund is one, because again, you just don't have revenue coming in. You don't have enough revenue coming in to sustain. So there's going to be, I'm talking about a lot of projects that cost money.
Right.
But there's going to be, and I know the big question is, well, how are you going to pay for all this stuff when we're trying to cut funding? And it goes back to thinking outside the box. Okay, it goes back to step 1 of my economic plan, which is the Century Plaza area. If we get that phase started and get it going, Century Plaza fills up, and all of a sudden you've got resources coming in, and then you move to phase 2. Again, the plan that I'm putting out there doesn't happen overnight. It can't. It would be a pipe dream for me to think so. However, strategically done, we can map this thing out and it can be successful, but it has to be done in steps that don't jeopardize public safety, steps that don't jeopardize the city's general fund. But we can do it in steps that secure the city's financial future, enhance the quality of life for citizens, and make Pittsburgh a destination point.
So it won't happen overnight. How long do you think it would take? Would it be done within the 4 years if you were elected office? Is it a 20-year plan? Kind of what?
To be realistic, I think it's anywhere from 4 to 8 years.
Okay.
You can't do all of this in 4 years because you're looking at a park that it's going to cost money. You're looking at a facility in the Century Plaza that really wouldn't cost us anything. And that's really the gold for us, is if we get that facility done, we don't have an expenditure there. So then we go to phase 2. So depending on how fast phase 1 gets done, the other stuff can line up quickly. What I would be proposing, though, is that we start studying everything ahead of time. So that way, when we're able to do step 2, we've already got the study, we've already done our homework, and we're ready to move forward. so that we're not saying, okay, now let's study it, because that's how delays happen. So I would study most of it ahead of time so that we're able to move in steps and move at a quicker pace. But it all really depends on how fast we can get phases of phase 1 and phase 2, which is getting destination points in Pittsburgh. Without those, Wolf, the downtown, the city as a whole doesn't have a chance 10 to 12 years down the road. We're going to be in a position where we're going to be asking for a lot of help.
So is it fair to say, for those that are, researching their candidates and have not made a decision yet, that with your ideas and your plan, that within that first 4 years, if you were elected, that there would be enough actionable results that it would be easy to say whether you kept your word or not, and whether I know we're jumping way ahead, but a re-election to a second term would even be viable as a voter?
Yes, it's real simple. I don't believe in putting something out there unless I believe it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, my goal is, once I get a hold of something, I just don't let go of it until we accomplish it. So I would be on it. And if you want to look at results, let's go back to how we got Auto Row built, we got Restaurant Row built. At one point, we had Best Buy, Circuit City, we had all of those places in Pittsburgh. That was under my term. We broke ground on the senior center. I mean, I can go on and on about the accomplishments. The power plant money was going to go to everybody else, council members and myself included. I went to Sacramento and then also visited Willie Brown in San Francisco. We lobbied and kept that $100 million in Pittsburgh. Had we not done that, that money would have gone to everybody else, and the city would not even have what it has today. So we've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of work in the past, and the record speaks to the fact that we were able to help Pittsburgh by keeping that money. I mean, let's put it this way. I would put my record of 97 to 2002 up against the record of the last 4 years of any of the incumbents, and say, like, who's done more for business? It's not even close. It doesn't even compare. Who kept revenue in the city? That, again, it doesn't compare. Now, the only exception I would give them is the COVID-19, which is this year. We've had 3 years to get something going. I've looked for a plan on my opponents to see if they have a plan. Just a plan that I could read as a voter. I don't see anything. And that's why I felt important enough that I put a plan out for voters to look at, told them it was a vision. Call me. If you have questions, you want to call me. I'm more than willing to listen.
Okay, so you've talked about this, as you see it, economic, challenge that the Pittsburgh is going to be having because of, in your opinion, the lack of destination points and economic development. But what are, in your eyes, the greatest strengths currently in Pittsburgh and strengths in the future?
One of the bigger strengths that the city has, and it's underutilized, is the waterfront. Mm-hmm. So we have a tremendous opportunity in the waterfront, and we just haven't utilized it. I call it an untapped resource. Okay, and so it's a resource that we need to tap, but do it smartly so that we can maximize it for the benefit of our residents and our community. Our diversity is actually a strength. I believe that, some people might say that we have issues in schools, but I think our planning for schools has actually been pretty good. If you look, before I left, we planned for a junior high school out in the Oak Hills and San Marco area. There's already a spot to build another school out there. So I think we've actually planned for that. I don't think we've been too smart with allowing BART to get away with murder to the city. And put in what I call trolley cars, when our residents for over 40 years paid for a first-rate BART system, and then they got a second-rate BART system. So that wasn't a smart move. But if you look at strengths, we have a tremendous amount. We have 13,000 union households in Pittsburgh. We have people in Pittsburgh who are hardworking families. I've never seen a community support each other more than they do in Pittsburgh. When somebody's down, our community rallies around it. And I haven't seen a lot of communities rally like the city does. I think we have a great police force. Our police force If you look at everybody else and we look at our police force, they're open. A lot of police forces aren't. Ours is. They're very open. So we have a strong partnership with our police force. Could it be better? Everything can always be better. We have untapped resources on the waterfront, and that would include Zone A and B on the current general plan that they're looking at. I actually haven't put it out, but I do have a plan for Zone A and B. And so when we look at the diversity, the amount of trades that we have in the city, I think our school system is fine. I would like to see us somehow do a little bit more with the hospital than what's being done, but we don't have control of that. I think it's underutilized. So I think that there's potential there, but I'm not willing to say how far yet because I have to do more investigation before I say something on that. But I just think there's more potential. Those are really the strengths that I look at, and the strength is in our people, and the strength is in our resolve. I think Pittsburgh people are resolved to succeed. And if you look at the history, we've been a coal mining town, we've been Camp Stoneman. Pittsburgh has always been successful. Now we're in another one of those bumpy road times, and we have to lay a foundation for the future generations. So what I'm trying to do is lay that foundation so that when I step away and when anybody else steps away, there's a foundation for the next generation to take over, and they've got a path that they can walk instead of one that they have to look for.
Oh, that's I think that sums up strengths. I definitely agree that the people of Pittsburgh, and that has been brought up by several of the candidates, is our strength, that we do have something very unique here. I don't know if it's the air, the water, or what causes it, but Pittsburgh is a great community, and I 100% agree that that is one of our strengths. Frank, I want to thank you for spending the time with us. You've provided a lot of information, a lot of the ideas that you have laid out. I know they're on your website, and for those that want to learn more about these ideas that you've proposed, where would they go to get that information?
They can go to voteaiello.org, and I'll spell out the vote, VOTEAIELLO.org. It has a homepage and then links to all the things I talked about. Mm-hmm. It has a vision link where all the vision's laid out, but it also has a link for Big League Dreams for people who want to see those types of pictures. What is a Big League Dreams? There's a link there that shows you pictures of exactly what it is. So there's links there for just about everything. And also, I can be contacted on my email, which is on the page as well. And that is frankaiello58@gmail.com. I'm open to answer any questions anytime. I'm open to meet people as long as we do our social distancing per protocol and discuss any topic anytime.
Okay. Well, again, thank you. And for those that are watching this live, you can go to www.pittsburgh.vote. And there you can view this video again. It will be archived shortly. You can also view each candidate's bio. There are links to their Facebook and their websites if they have made those available. And more importantly, for the upcoming candidate forums at the end of this month, you can go ahead and submit your own questions that can be asked to the candidates during that forum. So we are, as a chamber, doing what we can to provide access to all the candidates for these three races. And we hope that you take us up on these efforts and make, do what you can to be informed and to vote. And so again, that's www.pittsburgh.vote. And with that, Frank, I'll give it to you for last closing comments and why the residents of Pittsburgh should vote for you for Pittsburgh City Council.
It's pretty simple for me. The residents would have to entrust me, but I provide proven leadership with proven results. And I also provide something that's different, which is I can be an environmental steward because I have the environmental experience to make sure certain things get done. I want clean air for our kids. I want the next generation to be proud. I want the next generation to be able to succeed. And I want generations of Pittsburgh residents to be able to say, Pittsburgh was my home for life, and I didn't have to move out because I was successful. My vision is clear. It's very well, I believe, laid out. And I would love the opportunity to work for the city again and its residents and provide a foundation again for the future. I'm 62 years old. Some people might say, well, you're too old and you're past your prime. Some have said that. I would say that I'm in my prime because, again, I've laid out a plan, and I would just ask the other people that are running, the candidates, first off, congratulations that they're taking this leap to run for office. It's a tough thing to do, to put yourself out there and run. So I commend them for doing that. Having said that, I would challenge each of them right now, put your plan in writing. Put your plan in writing so people can see what you're talking about. Let's see what your actionable plans are. I've put my plan in writing out. It's been out there for 3 months. So to the other candidates, let the residents see what you're talking about. Not just words, but let's see what the plans are. And with that, I would respectfully ask for the vote on November 5th, I believe. And I will be open and available to anybody, anytime that you want to talk to me. So with that said, again, voteaiello.org, Frank Aiello, Gmail, frankallo58, gmail.com. Send me a message. I'll even give you my phone number, which is 602-538-8447. Call me. I will be more than happy to discuss anything you want to discuss. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you, Wolf. Thank you to the chamber. And vote Aiello in the November election.
Thank you, and thank you to our viewers, and everybody have a good afternoon. And again, it's www.pittsburgh.vote for more information on all our candidates. Have a great day.